All right, we are live. Good evening, everyone. As you all come in, for those of you that are watching the replay, hello, welcome. Welcome back to Where Do I Fit In? For those of you that are joining us now, thank you. Welcome. So good to see all of you all. As you all come in, please don't forget to share this broadcast. As you all come in, share this broadcast. And what's so great about tonight is we are also streaming live on YouTube. So if you like YouTube better, you can join me at the Victoria Hicks brand YouTube page and you can comment live from there. We are live on YouTube as well as on Facebook. So welcome again. I'm super excited about tonight. So as you all come in, let me know where you're listening from. How was your day? Hey, Tracy. Thank you for always being supportive. Hey, mom. My mom is the best. She's my biggest cheerleader. And she's all things politics. So this is going to be interesting, her in the comment section. Um, um, Thank you all so much for joining us. As you all come in, don't forget to share. Let everyone know that we are live. And we're excited to have this conversation. So let's get to it. Um, Again, for those of you that are coming in, we are also live on YouTube. So shout out to all of our YouTube watchers this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. So you are officially at Where Do I Fit In? And it's your girl, Victoria Hicks, CEO of the Victoria Hicks brand. And here at the Victoria Hicks brand, I curate spaces for Black women. And my mission is to amplify Black women's voices and to be a part of furthering much needed conversations about intersectionality. I curate spaces for Black women to know their purpose, operate in purpose, and live on purpose. And so when we come together for Where Do I Fit In, our main purpose is to further the conversation about intersectionality, the good, the bad, the ugly, about being Black and female in America. So again, all of you all that are joining us, thank you all so much. I'm so excited for this panel. I'm so excited for this time as we are 7 days away from the biggest election of our lives. We got to have a conversation. It's a much needed conversation. So let's talk about the purpose for tonight. As always, a little bit about the state of address and where we are. So indulge me as I read these statistics to you all because I think that will help us frame this conversation tonight. The purpose for tonight's conversation is again to further a much needed conversation. I'm not the first to have this conversation, but I'm here to further it on Black women in politics and the importance of the Black vote. Black women have made many strides winning elected office over the past 2 decades, but they still remain underrepresented in state and local politics. Black women make up 7% of the US population, but just 3% of Congress, less than 1% of statewide elected executive officials, less than 4% of state legislators, and 2% of mayors. In the nation's 100 biggest cities, only five Baltimore, San Antonio, Toledo, Atlanta, Ohio, and Washington, D.C. have a Black female mayor. As we move closer to what feels like the most important election of our lifetime, we must talk about how much the Black vote matters. With the brutal killing of George Floyd and the Black community waiting over 100 days for justice that we did not get for the murder of Breonna Taylor, the Black community now more than ever must show up to the polls informed and ready to execute. Black voters play a huge role in the election process, and it is time we understand it and we participate in mass numbers. Here with me tonight, because I can't have this conversation alone, is some of the baddest, beautifulest, smartest, amazing Black women in politics. I got the creme de la creme to join me tonight, and you all are in for a treat. So share this broadcast. Here with me tonight is my illustrious panel. For each of you young ladies, can you please introduce yourself and tell us your name, the office you are running for, or the work you do in politics? And I'm going to start with you, Miss Roxanne. You can unmute your mic and introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Roxanne Reed Goodman, and I am running for the Zone 2 Commissioner in the city of Lake Helen.
Yes. I will be, well, I can't say that. Oops, I almost said something. Yes, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I was about to say something that I'm not supposed to share, but thank you. Just know that Lake Helen will be, yeah. All right. I almost slipped. Woo. All right, Daniela, can you please introduce yourself?
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Daniela Jean, and I'm currently running for the City of North Miami Beach for the Commissioner Group 3 seat. And I also work for the City of North Miami.
Wow, very good. And I used to be a resident of North Miami Beach. So you are doing amazing work, and I'm so happy when I saw. I said, Daniela is running. She better go ahead. I'm so excited and proud of you, my sister. And last but not least, Miss Nakasha Wells.
Hello there. And I just have to tell you, Miss Victoria Hicks, I'm a huge fan. So thank you so much for having me on tonight. But I have the distinct honor and pleasure of serving as the Florida State Coalition's Director for the Joe Biden campaign for president.
Say that one more time, just one more time. Let the folks know, the people in the back who may not hear, let them know.
I am the Florida State Coalition's Director for the Joe Biden campaign for president.
Amen. So, like I told you, I didn't bring on, some chumps tonight. I brought on the creme de la creme, the best of the best, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to have a conversation. But look, y'all, we need to make sure that we're furthering the conversation. So, again, share this broadcast. And before we really get started, I see Camille's on here, Bernicia, Pastor Regina. Thank you all so much for joining us and commenting. My sister Tracy's on here. I love y'all for always being on here and supporting. Again, share, get those hearts up, and let's begin this conversation. So, ladies, what led you? Because I just think when I think about politics, I actually saw my father, Bishop Victor Tyrone Curry, I got to put his name out there, run for office as a little girl. And I was just like, no, I don't want any parts of this. This is absolutely crazy. So, ladies, 2020, what led you to decide to join politics, run for office, work for the Joe Biden campaign? What led you to that? Daniela, you can share first.
All right. So at the age of 23, I started interning for a local councilwoman. That was kind of my first dive into politics and just working in her office, having that exposure, and eventually being my first full-time job was at a local government, City of North Miami. So you're basically working behind the scenes and being an advocate for people. I've always had a passion for people, and I've always been able to speak up for individuals. But I'm introverted, so I'm not going to put myself out there. But I decided to do so because the city that I currently live in, I've been living in most of my life. And I was like, there's no buzz going on around here. There's no real noise happening. And I know I'm a change maker. And so it took me a long time. I've been thinking about this for about 5 years. But I said, you know what? I'm going to pull the trigger and go into it. So that was why I'm in this thing right now.
Wow. And one thing that I know for sure, because I'm a believer, that a lot of times ministry, and I believe that politics is a form of ministry. Whenever you serve people, that is a form of ministry. Um, it is usually birthed out of pain or birthed out of something that you see that really bothers you. So Daniela, living in North Miami Beach your most of your life and seeing everything that goes on, having God place you in those strategic places and then to bring you here is amazing. So that's amazing. Miss Roxanne.
Hi. So I have lived in the city of Lake Helen for 14 years. I transitioned careers while I was working here, started my family while I was living here, sorry. And the one of the current commissioners, who's African American, decided that he wanted to retire. And it was important for me that our people still had a seat at the table, that there was still someone speaking on their behalf. While I represent every citizen, or will represent every every citizen in the city of Lake Helen, I thought it was important that there was still somebody out there that looked like the other citizens and that could speak on their behalf. And so that was really my um, passion and reason for getting into and running for this seat.
Wow, that's good. I like that you saw an opportunity like, hold up, somebody else needs to be at this table. And so that's important. And that's what we should be doing, looking around like something's going on. This person is leaving. Somebody needs to come in and represent. So kudos to you. Miss Nakasha, what made you get into politics?
Well, how much time do you have, Ms. Hicks? Because Lord have mercy, it feels like it has been quite a journey. I've been involved in politics for about 20 years now, and I can't even believe I'm old enough to say that. But it's been an amazing journey. I'm a lawyer by trade, so the political process is definitely just a part of the fabric of my career. But I started in college. I started working on campaigns just as a volunteer when I was a student at Florida State University. And then, that's how I know this is a passion and purpose for me, because it never feels like work. I am the granddaughter of a pastor, and my grandparents started, in activism in Quincy, Florida, registering Black people to vote. My grandmother actually was furloughed for a year as an educator because she was registering Black people to vote. So it's just kind of in my DNA. I know that this is the mechanism for change in this country. It always has been. And so I've always just been led to have my people involved in the process from the local level. And that's why I love so much about what Daniela and Roxanne are doing, because to me, those elections are more important than presidential elections, because they impact your everyday life. And I've just always wanted to inspire Black people to be involved in the process.
Oh, I love that. I love that. A question from one of our viewers is Roxanne and Daniela, do you all have opponents?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
Wow.
I do.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. Oh wow, my mom knows your granddaddy, Pastor Wells from Cocoa, Florida.
Reverend Isaacs, that's my mama's side of the
Oh,
family.
okay. Oh, okay.
Yes.
There you go, Mom. She know it. She thinks she know everybody. Uh, I love that. So, for Miss Roxanne and Daniela, can you explain to us exactly what your seat does, what it means for those that are like, we hear these words, commissioner, mayor, but what exactly does your position entail? Daniela, you can go.
Okay. The commissioners are basically the stakeholders for the city. They're the ones that are making policy changes. They're the ones approving contracts. They're the ones that's basically the voice, the advocate for a representative for the community. And so while you have the department heads that help with the day-to-day operations of the city, the council people are elected by the people to be that voice on the ground and have a direct correlation between the residents, their needs, and also the growth and progress of that city. So that's what that commission seat would basically be doing. You are a vote, you are a person that's literally a change maker within that body that's operating that city.
That's good. I love that explanation. Roxanne, you can
Yeah,
elaborate.
ours is quite similar. We are a city commission led city. We have city administrator and city workers that work under the direction of the city commissioners, but along with the mayor, The mayor and the 4 city commissioners govern the rules and all the requirements that are led in our city charter. So yeah, we are the voice, similar to Daniela, for the city and the citizens.
Wow. And that's so important, as Nakasha was saying. These these seats that we're talking about tonight are very important because they directly affect you. And if you live in North Miami Beach, if you live in Lake Helen, Miami Gardens, you need to know those seats that we are talking about, commissioner, city council, all of those seats, your mayor, because they're making decisions. If you're a small business, they're making decisions on if you get grants and loans and all these different opportunities. If you there are different facets, so you need to know, because they really do affect how you move and govern yourselves in your city. You're paying taxes, and so now you are sending someone forth to represent you on that level to make sure that the needs that you have in your community are being met. And so if you rep North Miami Beach and you rep Lake Helen, you need to make sure that you are voting the right people in those seats. Natasha.
I just wanted to underscore exactly what you're saying, because even the funding from the CARES Act, from stimulus money from the federal government, even though it came from the federal government, it's gone to these local municipalities for distribution. So if you don't know who your local electeds are, you won't have any say whatsoever in how that money is being distributed. And that money has helped to sustain families and businesses throughout this pandemic. So that's why those local seats are way more important than the federal seats are.
That is so good. I'm so happy you all are on here to explain that, and you're doing such a good job. You're not speaking above our audience, because sometimes I'll be like, what? Huh? Who? And that makes a lot of sense. So I really do appreciate it. So now let's segue into campaigning. Y'all ready? Campaigning as a Black woman in 2020, with everything going on, a global pandemic, uh, the racial tension that's going on in our communities all across America. What has your overall experience been? And Nakasha, you can also talk to this, even though you're campaigning. You're campaigning. And so what has your experience been like campaigning as a woman in a male-dominated space? Anyone want to go, Nakasha?
Well, I was going to share with the group that in 2012, I actually ran for State House of Representatives. So I know very intimately what, Roxanne and Daniela are going through right now. And I just kind of wanted to speak a little bit from just the vantage point of being a Black woman and, venturing into politics, but also being a mom and, being a career woman. I know that there are a lot of Black women who are interested in getting into politics. We are, one of the most educated demographics in the country. So it would only stand to reason that all these educated sisters would want to get involved in their communities. That just makes sense.
Right.
But I want to have a real conversation tonight because, one thing that folks don't talk about is the money that it takes to run for office. A lot of folks that don't look like us are able to self-fund their campaigns to run for office. They can drop, $20 or $30 or $40,000 into their campaign accounts before they ever get a donation from an outside individual or entity. And a lot of times we don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to, really, really compete at a very high level for a lot of these local seats. And so financial parity is a huge issue for me. Also, with me just being a single mother, my daughter was not even 2 years old when I ran for office. And I don't even know what I was thinking. But, I felt led to run. And I'm sure that's what Roxanne felt and what Daniela felt when they made the decision to get involved in the process. And nothing about our lives should be a hindrance from us getting involved. Nothing, not motherhood, not your career, not any financial deficiencies, because we have something to offer to this political landscape. And so we are compelled to run and compelled to get involved.
I love that. That is so good. I'm going to add our other panelists in now. And Nakasha, what you said was so important. So don't lose that thought. because I want to talk about the money disparity as well. Hey, Commissioner Tamara, how are
Hey
you?
y'all, how you doing?
Good. We're so happy you can join us. Thank you so much. We were talking about the campaigning, but before we continue that conversation, introduce yourself quickly. Let us know what office you are running for and what led you to join politics.
Okay. My name is Tamara James. As you can see, I'm a little hoarse. Been going extra hard at early voting. I've been getting up at 3:30 a.m., getting home around 8 p.m. Single mother, running for the city of Dania Beach. And Dania Beach is a little different. So we don't have districts or seats that we run for. But we have open seating. So we have three seats open right now: the mayor's seat, the vice mayor's seats, and a commissioner's seat. So everyone runs, and the highest vote getter becomes the mayor, the second highest, the vice mayor, and the third highest, commissioner. I was elected in 2016 as the mayor. That was the first time I've ever run for office. And thank you. Clap, clap. And I received the most amount of votes in the history of Dania Beach. And so I am running for reelection to try and solidify that seat once again. There are six candidates running, and only three will win. Um, I'm a former professional basketball player, so I don't really have a political background. I've had a nonprofit in the city for a very long time, over 10 years. And so what kind of led me into politics was leadership. I've been a leader all my life. I've been a community leader for a lot of my life. And I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like the type of leadership that was there. And actually, it was from another Black man. And so I decided to not just be a part of complaining about the problem, but to be a solution to the problem. And I just went to one of the commission meetings and I said, that's not how you treat people. That's not how you represent our residents. And I'm going to run for your seat. And it was just something I did off of impulse. But I ran a grassroots campaign, and people really believed in humility and just being real and not trying to just say what your platform is and things that you really can't deliver in the amount of time that you're going to be in office, but just being real, being transparent and honest and a human. Because a lot
Mhm.
of times people don't understand that I put on my underwear like y'all put on your underwear every single day. And there is nothing that kind of separates us other than what you do in your 24 hours and what I do on my 24 hours. And that's the type of leadership that I wanted to provide. So here I am.
Yay! Well, I am so excited that you joined us. I'm so excited. So, we're talking about and I did not know that you were a professional basketball player. So you got game. You go ahead, girl. I appreciate it. What we were talking before we got started, that Black women is just one of a kind. I just am amazed at the resiliency and just the multifacetedness of Black women. So join us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are watching now, don't forget to share this broadcast. We're talking with Black women in politics, a much needed conversation about the importance of the Black vote. And so I want to go back to what Nakasha was talking about, us being on the campaign trail and some of the disparities that you all are experiencing. And so, do you ever feel, and this goes out to Roxanne and Daniela, do you ever feel the need to have to prove yourself more than your male counterparts? Roxanne?
Unfortunately, yes. My competitor, opponent is a white male, and he's lived in the city for 40 years, opposed to my 14. And the election itself went really well up until about 2 weeks ago, when he started to focus on the fact that I had received donations from outside of the city. And his other sticking point was that I just had paper. So I just had degrees. And my degrees were nothing but paper, was basically, is now become like his focal point. Not all the work and the dedication and all the leadership positions that I have, but I have paper.
Wow.
So, and the fact that because he was retired, he would have time to do the job better than me, who is a mom of 3 young kids, is kind of how he's running his election now. But understanding, like we talked earlier, a mom of 3 mom who works a full-time job and has a part-time job as a professor. I know how to navigate my time. I am the project manager of my home and my career and my children's education. So if anybody can do the job, I can definitely do it because I know how to manage multiple things, not just being the commissioner, but all the other tasks also. So it's been strenuous right now, to say the least. But I am doing it, like I said, not only for those other little brown boys and girls, but my children, so that they know, look, if you work hard at anything, you can get what you want. You just got to put the effort in. So whether it's me working hard at my degree or working hard at being the best commissioner that I can be for this city, that's what I'm going to do.
I love that. And that is so unfortunate that when did degrees not mean anything? I'm confused. Like, isn't this the country where our young people are literally drowning in debt due to trying to get degrees? Like, I don't understand, sir. Sir,
Degrees only don't mean anything when a Black woman has them. They mean something as long as it's somebody else that actually
ridiculous.
holds them.
Ridiculous. Daniela, what has it been for
Yeah.
you? Have you felt the need to prove yourself?
I think as a Black woman, you're always striving to prove that you're worth it, that you should have a seat at the table, that you're relevant, that you're smart enough, that you are articulate enough, that you're not fitting into the stereotypes that are out there in the world. So, what the campaign trail has taught me is that you have to have the right network. You have to be able to leverage your relationships. And if you didn't harness those relationships before, it's kind of hard to go back and tap into that. And also as a Black woman, sometimes we are pictured as we have that are very prideful. And so you see asking for money or for funds as begging, right? And I had to learn that it's not begging, and I don't owe you anything just because you gave. And so there's a lot of lessons that I've learned along the way, and not to tie in my worth to how much money I do collect, even though people are like, how much did you raise? Oh, that's not enough. Oh, your opponent raised X amount of dollars. So it's a constant reminding yourself that this does not define me. I define my narrative. And so it's been a very interesting series of events and a learning curve as well.
That's good. I like when you talked about your network and making sure that you leverage that because I think it's so important. Do you all have a support system? And we're going to talk about how people can donate tonight to your campaign. We've already had people in the comments are already asking. So I'm going to pause for each of you all to kind of share that so I can put that in the comment section, or you can put it in the comment section on Facebook. But I think it is important to consider this thing right here, because when I think about Black women in politics, I think of two things. I think of a Black woman feeling the need to become more masculine, like her components, or to become very soft and demure to not appear aggressive. Have any of you all kind of dealt with toying with that with your personality? Because Black women are Black women and we're not all monolith. But you come for our children, we we don't we don't know how to just smile and let it go. We're gonna give you a stare. We're gonna do our Kamala stare. When you interrupt us, we're gonna tell you to hush. So, what has that been like for you, Commissioner Tamara?
I have failed over and over and over again to do the whole Michelle Obama when they go low, go high. Because sometimes I will go lower than the grave. I just because it's just difficult. I'm tired. I am the only Black commissioner or elected official on our board, and a lot of the times, I mean, by nature, I'm I'm loud and I'm very passionate about things. And, because I don't allow disrespect, they take that as being unruly. Um, you know, it's been times where I'm always being antagonized. Today, just today, on the campaign trail or at early voting, the mayor's husband is videoing me literally like this the entire time. um, I'm just engaging with voters like everyone else, but they want that reaction so they can go and cut the videos to fit their narratives. Listen, I've knocked on doors and people have talked to me through their mail slips. I've had to have people of opposite colors just campaign with me so people will open up their doors. Um, yep, yep, Miss Woods, you scrub the ground, I skin some knees, honey. Because sometimes you just have to remind people that we're not going to sit back. A lot of times they think that we are to sit back and be quiet and do what they say and don't ask questions and, just go with the flow. And that's just not the type of leader that I am. I know that I can handle some situations differently, but when I feel like there is a level of the amount of accolades that I have. And when other people are elected and they feel like you owe them something because they haven't accomplished what you have accomplished, so they try to bring you down to their level because they really don't belong at the same table that you're sitting at. And they don't want to hear that. We have to work twice as hard to even be considered. And I'm not the type of individual that's going to let you think that you can sit at the table with me just because I'm a different hue. And oftentimes in meetings, I am that one. I will call you out. I will let you know I'm not sure who you're talking to, but you're not going to talk to me like that. And that's just me. They can call me unruly, but I stand on my word. And I feel like our ancestors and the people who have come before us have fought way too hard for us to have these opportunities for us to just sit back and be silent. So if that means that I will not serve another day as a commissioner or a mayor, I can go to sleep at night and I am good with that because I have an 8-year old and every decision I make, and for him to see people curse me out and to treat me any kind of way, I'm not going to allow him to think that I'm going to tolerate that because I never want him to feel like he has to tolerate that because we don't have to tolerate that. And I think sometimes we are afraid that we're not going to get a vote if we stand up for ourselves because of what it may look like to anyone else. But I don't know what faith you all have, but anything that's for me and the devil in hell that can take it away from me. And I stand on that and I sleep good at night knowing that. And I know that, God has put me here to change the standard so that the people that come after me may not have such a difficult time as I have had. But I can imagine, the people that have come before me that have had to sit, on at the commission meetings, been called niggers at commission meetings and couldn't say anything. Well, I talk back.
I love that. It's so refreshing because as a black woman, for black women, period, when either in it doesn't matter what field you're in, it can be so daunting and exhausting trying to play the game. And some days you're like, okay, I'm just gonna play the game. And then I mean literally by lunch, you like, nah, I ain't playing this game no more. Let me call her and let her know. And then you feel bad because then you're deemed this. And it's just that constant going back and forth in your head that other people do not have to worry about. Roxanne, what has your do you feel the need to be demure up there in Lake Helen?
I was going to say that I have scrubbed so many Facebook posts because I knew that if I did send them, either I'm going to have a whole new persona or perception of me, or um, yeah, I would be probably throwing away the election. But, it's almost like you feel like people are trying to put you in a position to be the loud, obnoxious, gutter black. They say these things to kind of egg you on, right? And it's really, really hard not to react because I keep saying one day my child could search my name and see this post where they talk about me and I didn't respond. I didn't say, well, no, I work hard for this. I did. Somebody even put on Facebook the other day that they had heard, I've got all these papers and degree, and they had heard that I was working at Target. Well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with working at Target. But second of all, I was the store manager of Target. So get it correct, right? So they are trying to just egg you on into these situations to be or to make me somebody that I'm not. But I have found that I still do the go high, but in a really nice way. So I'll set them with a nice quote or a religious a phrase from the Bible or something to set them in the place and just leave it and be quiet for a while. But I just feel like, especially in my city, it's predominantly Caucasian. 2,800 citizens and predominantly Caucasian. They are just seems like shocked or astonished to find that there not only is there a black woman, but a black woman that's educated and that has had leadership position. So the shock has turned them into being somewhat belligerent in their behavior and their response to me. But I just have to keep remembering, like I said earlier, that one day my child is going to be Googling my name or looking Facebook and see this. And so that's what keeps me kind of keeping it together. But I can tell you, it's really hard. I want to scrub those floors too. I really do. I want to be there too. But yeah, it's an everyday battle for sure.
Daniela, Nakasha, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, my child has already Googled me. So honey, what she sees, she knows her mama is a real human being. And she knows that like Commissioner Tamara said, we stand up for ourselves. And I don't think that Black women should have to dilute who we are in order for us to code switch or fit into certain spaces. I think us being our authentic selves is what is valuable to the marketplace and what's valuable in these political spaces. I want Roxanne, to be authentically who she is. I need for Daniela to be authentically who she is, because that's what amplifies our voices in those spaces. If they can't hear us for who we legitimately are, then it's not even important for us to be there.
Daniela.
I was going to say that I think two words that I'm hearing and that I'm trying to reflect are finesse. A Black woman has finesse, and we're able to use our finesse to navigate whatever terrain. But I also understand the power of boundaries, because once you allow it, it just keeps going and it keeps elevating to a point where you can't even control it anymore. So I'm learning that you got to set people straight with a little finesse, add a little finesse to the end of it. But you have to, those boundaries as leaders in this realm, which is like a dog eat dog. One politician told me, he said, you need to have alligator skin, not even tough skin. And I pictured the skin of an alligator, and he was like, that's what you need to have. So we have, as Black women, we still have to be ourselves, authentic, transparent, but we have to add the finesse, because there's so much to lose here that we have to remain on top of this thing and make sure that the stereotypes that want to be tied to us don't have to, because we're not living up to that, and we're not proving you right either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I love that. Finesse and boundaries. I am a queen of boundaries. I teach it to everyone I know. Boundaries is so important. It creates peace in your life. If you want a life full of chaos, don't establish boundaries. And I establish boundaries with every single person that comes in my life. Nope, we don't do that over here. And we move it like that. I appreciate that. I want to move to my next question. Do you feel like you're having to work a little bit more harder to build a rapport with your constituents? I specifically think about Daniela, you're young. I think about Roxanne living in a predominantly Caucasian neighborhood. Do you feel like you're having to work harder to build that rapport with your constituents? Daniela, you can go first.
I'll say definitely, because I'm basically a newcomer in the mix of the total of 6 people. So in special, you can't really, I'm still going door to door, but they're so limited because some people are not opening their doors. So then now, if you can't go door to door and connect with people, you need mailers, you need different things, you need social media ads, you need so many things that you need money for. So connecting has been it's like an operation, it's like a top secret operation, you're trying to figure out the nuances that's going to work. So COVID has really put a damper on that. And also, when people see a Black woman, when I go canvassing, I usually go by myself. So I'm tall, I'm 5'10", I'm chocolate. So, you come with that presence and you're knocking at the door. They're like, what do you want? You feel me? So it's been an adventure just trying to, navigate through that and figure out, how do I finesse this person? How do I read? How do I use my emotional intelligence to kind of, make the person feel comfortable and then go in for the kill? So it's been intricate. It's been intricate. It's been very intricate.
Roxanne?
Yeah, for me also. So in the beginning, I tried the face to face, the canvassing door to door. Sorry, but yeah, COVID kind of just stopped that right away. Either the doors weren't opening, or people, put it out there that they didn't want people coming to their doors. So I focused a lot on social media. Put together like a digital campaign. So we put different ideas out there about the campaign, about myself, and what my passion is and my purpose for running. But yeah, it's been really difficult, mostly through social media, to be honest with you. Like you said, because everything else costs, and all of that money wasn't necessarily there. So we did what we could, but a lot of social media and some face to face, so minimal.
Good. Tamara, Commissioner Tamara?
Um, COVID did stop a lot, but I would say for the last 2 months we've been canvassing. I would knock on the door and I would step back a couple of feet and wait to see if they came to me. Um, for me, canvassing is the most important part of my race in elections, because there are people who don't even know who sit up there as their commissioners, and they're happy when they see someone come to their door. And I am a social butterfly, and I can spark a conversation with a snail. And so I love meeting people. I love connecting with people, and I think that's what got me elected the first time. And so this time around, I have name recognition. Before I was elected, I had name recognition. The only difference is I had to let them know that I'm not just a basketball player, that I actually am smart and I understand what I'm doing, and I'm qualified enough to hold this seat. And so for me, I was able to do a lot because I raised a lot of money because of the connections that I had. So I was able to do digital. I was able to get a billboard. I was able to do, different type of branding. I honestly want to say that I'm probably down here going to change the face of what campaigns are. I have campaign flags. I have tents with my faces all over it. Like, I've done everything just to get my face out there, because I know that a lot of voters that go to the poll, they only really know who the president and the vice president who they're voting for. They don't know school board. They don't know state attorney. They don't know anything about local elections. I met someone today and she was like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. I didn't even know who I was going to vote for." And imagine 5,000 people like that not knowing who they're going to vote for. And so imagine being the only person that they have seen, that they have connected with. And so, yeah, I paid a pretty penny to do a digital campaign, get my billboard, and definitely to go door to door. And it's just been grassroots. It's just really been me and my family. I don't have a lot of paid volunteers, maybe one or two paid volunteers, because I'm actually doing the work. I think I have a benefit over everyone else who's running, um, who I serve with, probably being over the age of 60. So they don't have the stability or the stamina to do what I'm going to do. And even if they did, I'm a strong believer, and no one's going to outwork me. And so I've seen people, just to give you ladies a little bit of insight. I've seen people who have raised $8,000 and win an election, and I've seen people who raise $70,000 and lose one. So it's not all about the money. It's really about engaging, interacting, and building that trust between the constituents and yourselves.
Wow, that's really good. That's a really great wisdom. Thank you for sharing that and being so transparent and open. Um, for those that are on this live tonight that are thinking about running in the next elections, taking these tidbits and these things is great. I want to move to this question here before we start talking about the Black vote itself. What would you say to the person who thinks that a woman's temperament is not conducive to holding a political seat? We have this conversation all the time where um, some think that women should not be running for seats because of our temperament. What do you say to that, Nakasha?
Well, you kind of alluded to it earlier. You know, we've seen even at the highest levels of government with Senator Kamala Harris running for, vice president of the United States. Everybody in America noticed how she had to keep herself calm, how she had to smile when she probably absolutely wanted to explode at some of the responses that Vice President Mike Pence was giving, and some of the just blatant lies that were coming out of his mouth. But yet and still she had to keep her composure, because like everybody on the panel has already said, there are stereotypes about Black women. That's just the bottom line. People think we're angry and we're loud, and we just have these really horrible dispositions until you get to know us and you see how amazing we are as individuals, and that we're not all the same. We're not a monolith, just like you said. So I think it's unfortunate that we are constantly having to fight all of these stereotypes about who we are. And this is not just in politics. This is in business. This is on the PTA, in education, in every sphere that we step foot into, we have to debunk all of these myths about who we are as people. And it can be exhausting, having to just deal with that. I can't just be angry. I got to be an angry Black woman. I have feelings too. I should be able to get upset, like everybody else. So I just think it's so unfortunate. But we see even with Senator Harris, I mean, we still have to, put on the smiley face and, not be viewed as angry. And I think that hasn't gone away. And I think that's very unfortunate.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so hard to watch because I know how that feels to have to show up and smile even though um you don't want to smile. Every day ain't a smile. And every moment isn't a smile. So I wanted to train anybody want to add to that?
I was going to say, I would first ask, well, what is their perception of our temperament? Because where you may see angry, I may see passionate. Where you see bitchy, I see determined. So it depends on what you're seeing and your perspective, right? And so understanding that perspective will have you a better understanding of why I am reacting the way that I am. So that would be my first question or response to everyone that says that your temperament can't match politics. It can match. It's just how you look at it.
Right. And I say this that if we can carry children and birth them out of a small hole in our bodies, we can run a country. I'm just saying.
And I had two at one time. So no, you
Ooh,
can't tell me. No.
ooh, yeah, yeah. You trapped all of us on here. Ooh, yeah, two at one time. I still cannot fathom how that is possible. Um, but yes, absolutely. So I want to move to the Black vote, our next segment on tonight, and I want us to talk about our brothers. I'm not bashing our Black men, but statistics tell us that our Black men tend not to show up to vote. We all know that Black women show up to the polls. We have literally uh, changed races and how it was going. We have changed polls and numbers and all of that stuff. We show up to vote. Where are our brothers? Some will say that they're in jail. Some would say that, they're out in the wind. But for those brothers who are capable, what would you say to them? Why is it that Black women are outnumbering Black men to the polls? Anybody want to go first?
I'll
Tamara, thank you.
I will say I've been out there for 8 days and I have seen a lot of Black men. So
Good.
I have been encouraged. I do know how discouraging it is. I've seen so many first time Black men that have gotten their rights restored and now they're able to vote. I know there are a lot of men that are very just discouraged in the process. They're discouraged in, what government really means. Um, Black women have been at the forefront of every battle since the beginning of what I can remember being taught. And, we have stood up for our communities, our babies, our men. And I just think that we need to continue to educate and to push our men into seeing past their hurt, their pain, and their past, into letting them know that they are not, their past is not their destiny. And their voice is so important. Their protection is so important. Their leadership is vital, to the evolution and to our future. And whereas I know in the past that hasn't been the case, I'm praying that, the years that come by, they understand the significance of Black male leadership. I was just saying that, I know there are at least 6 Black male candidates in Broward County. And I'm at the polls and I see the amount of Black candidates. It's just so inspiring. I've never seen it before. And even if no one wins, I think it just shows, the power that we have if we came together. What's more discouraging for me is how we have to fight our own communities when we are running. And so, those things with the Black males, I find myself fighting our Black males in the Black communities, more than anything else. But I would definitely say that a lot of our Black men are just discouraged in the system. I mean, they get a petty charge and they get the book thrown at them. So what justice are they fighting for? What government are they fighting for? What America are they really fighting for? And they don't believe that their vote really matters. They don't believe that it really counts. And they don't believe that it's going to make a difference in their households or their future.
That is so good, and that was my next question about Black men have lost their faith in, you know, this process, and how do we get them to come back around? How do we get them to understand their importance and their that I just believe that when Black men lead us in this, then families are changed. I know Black women have power, but when Black men start leading us in different areas in our life and our community, we will start to see massive change. And so I'm glad to hear that Black men, because you all are there in the fight, in the campaign trail. I'm in the suburbs up here in Orlando, and I don't see them. So I'm glad to hear that y'all are seeing them. I'm so happy to see them. Would anyone else like to speak to that about our Black men, Nakasha?
Absolutely. Everything that Commissioner James said is so on target. I think it's a couple of things. I think civic involvement is synonymous with education. The higher educated an individual is, the more likely they are to vote and to participate in the political process. So I think education in our communities is essential. The other part of it is that the disenfranchisement of African American males is probably higher than any other group. Like Commissioner James said, when they lose their right to vote, fortunately with Amendment 4, now we're seeing the restoration of civil rights. But that has been a very, very long time coming here in the state of Florida. And so I think a lot of particularly young Black males just don't see the utility in voting. They don't trust either party. And so they don't feel like there is any importance. I will tell you, I just voted today and I was so super excited. I was like, Lord, I'm out here pushing all these other people to the polls. Let me get out here and actually vote. But I was almost in tears when I saw how many under 30-year-old Black males there were at the precinct where I was voting. So I'm encouraged. I think one of the main ways that we can get younger Black males involved in the process is we have to let them know what the nexus is between voting for these people and their everyday lives. If you understand that the judge that you faced, who, convicted you of this petty charge, was actually on a ballot 6 months ago, then you start to see the connection between how your life is directly impacted by the people who are running for office. And so when we start bridging that gap for them, I think they'll get more involved. We just have to educate them. We cannot rely on them to just go out there and find the information for themselves. They have to know, just like in Breonna Taylor's case, the Daniel Cameron, he was on a ballot. Like, people actually voted him into office. So when you understand that the power of our protest is also in our vote. And we have to get these people out of office who don't have our best interests at heart.
No matter what ethnicity they are.
Absolutely.
Because it really bothers me that Mr. Cameron man, because if it had been him, we would have all taken our flags and our things and been out there voting for him, and all the while, my Lord, today. But I love what you said, because I think it goes back to education. As an educator, that is my main thing. Like, we must educate this younger generation to understand the connections. And I think that's where politicians kind of go wrong. They don't know how to make the connection of why it is so important. And so for you all on the campaign trail, it's great, but also share with those that are coming to your constituents, like, the reason why this is important is because, and that's why I wanted to start this broadcast with, explain what the commissioner does. Explain what that seat represents. Explain it, because a lot of us hear these words and don't have any clue what impact that seat makes in my everyday life. And so that is so important to educate. And for we're going to get to our plea in a second, but my next question was about Black male Republicans. Thoughts? I was looking at the statistics, and I'm sure you all know that when it came to our presidential election of the current president that we do have now, a lot of it was due to, no, I won't say a lot, but some of it was due to Black men voting for him. And a lot of them saying that they just could not see them vote for a woman. And so one of you all might be our next future female president. We don't know what God will do. What do we say to our Black males and them not necessarily choosing to be a Republican, but not being able to support another woman? What can we say to that?
Well, I will say, I don't have an issue with the Republican Party. I have an issue with Donald Trump. And I think that this country thrives on, public discourse, and for us to be able to have different views on different issues. I think that's the foundation of this country. So I would never want to, silence anyone. I've never had an issue with Black Republicans. I don't agree with all of their positions on everything, but I think that the open dialogue and discourse is important for democracy. But my issue is with anyone being able to see all of the hateful things that this administration has spewed out, with reckless abandon. How over the last 4 years, it feels like we have stepped back into like the 1950s or 60s when it comes to relations between races. The level of division that has come from this administration is absolutely deplorable. So I have an issue with my Black brothers and sisters who can find space in this administration. I don't understand it, and I don't. I can't support that. That's just very, very difficult for me, because any politician that we support, no matter what party, they have to understand and they have to respect the Black community. And I don't believe that this administration does that. So that's why I just have such a difficult time understanding how any of my brothers could support this administration. And granted, I heard a very, very intelligent young Black male talk earlier today, and he is a multi-millionaire. He had a video that he posted on Instagram, and I was so inspired by him, because he said, you know what? He said, a lot of my friends are Republican because they are very successful, just like myself. He said, but I can't be bought.
Right.
And that was so powerful for me. He said, at some point, I'm going to have to explain to my 4-year-old what I did in this moment, that I stood up and I made my voice heard and my vote counted for democracy. And I cannot support an administration that has demeaned my people. And I don't understand it. And I'm just hopeful that, I don't think that Black people owe our vote to anyone. Let me make that clear. But I do feel like anybody that we put our support behind has to respect us as a people.
Absolutely. I was talking to some colleagues of mine and I was shocked. These are Black men, educated, master's, doctorate degrees, and they are in support of this current administration. And it saddened me because some of their behavior reminded me of just wanting to be a part of the good boys club, just wanting to be a part of that regime of power and how it looks, and not even thinking about their grandmothers and their mothers who sacrificed, who cleaned hotels and who scrubbed toilets and took care of children. And I literally asked them this, like, your grandma from Mississippi, like, I don't I just could not understand. You got a couple of degrees and now you're so educated to the point where it's all about capitalism, and that really is hurtful as a Black woman. That's like, are we forgetting? We need you now more than ever. Anyone else want to talk about that before we move on? Anyone else?
I really think that Nakasha summed it up. I have nothing else to add to that. It was amazing.
She did. She did an amazing job. I love Nakasha. All right. So here it is. We're going to talk about some final thoughts, but before we do that, I really, well, no, I'm gonna do it at the end. Daniela, your final thoughts for tonight. Explain the importance of local government and how it directly affects our quality of life, and kind of make an appeal of why it's so important for our community to go out and vote.
All right. Hopefully, my connection holds through. But we have to understand that the base matters. And I think one of the panelists mentioned that earlier, that it flows down. It flows down from the federal government on down to the local level. And so sometimes we don't think that our potholes, like the pothole that you might have down the street, or the tree that's, leaning on your neighbor's fence, but actually belongs to the county, or whatever the local issue is, or a sewer system, whatnot, or contracts, they're bringing in a new development that's going to affect the traffic in your area. So, there's a lot of things on the local level that are being decided upon that residents don't even know, because people are just busy with the day to day. They don't have time to go to a commission meeting. They don't have time to sit behind the computer for 5 hours and listen to Zoom. But the thing is, the decisions that are made in that room affect you. They affect the residents. They affect your bottom line as a taxpayer. And you should be benefiting in what you're actually investing in, which is your community. And so I think that we have to have as citizens, we have to have a less selfish approach to life, and not only know that it's our family, but it's our community. It affects everyone, our neighbors, the person across the street, the person on the other side of the street. So we have to understand that we have to vote, and not only go vote, but encourage someone else to vote, and make it your business to be an advocate for voting. Because a lot of times, as long as home is good, we don't care about everybody else. And we each have to take the responsibility of knowing that what happens on this block maybe is happening on the next block too. And there's no communication. Commissioner James was talking about meeting people. People are so intrigued. They're like, I didn't even know that the commission exists, or I never needed anything from City Hall, so I didn't know where to call or where to go. And so when they see you, they connect it to their everyday life. And so that's why local elections matter. And that's why we have to bubble all the way down, because people bubble for the president and then leave. They don't do the amendments. They don't do nothing else. And I'm just going to vote Biden in, and that's it. But the thing is that you have to vote down the ballot all the way through. And so the education is important, and being able to understand that it does affect you. It does affect your bottom line. So local elections matter, and we have to each one reach one. Pull somebody to go to the polling, make it a polling party. Let's go out and vote. Let's do a voting party or whatever. So just be engaged in what's happening in your community.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. That was great. And Roxanne, same question. Make an appeal for the Black voters and their importance to come out to the election.
I feel it's really important that we don't get comfortable. I think while Obama was great for our race and everything that he did for us, we got comfortable because we saw, okay, yeah, we can do this. And we said, oh, okay, everything's good. And, our current president came in and has turned everything around almost 360 degrees. So it is important that we stay active and that we stay involved and that we know what's going on in our community. I was canvassing the other day and talking to a young man about, me running and what I plan to do for the city. And I said, have you been to a city commission meeting? And he's like, well, I don't know where they are. And I said, well, they're at City Hall a block away. And I told him when they are. And he's like, well, I don't even know what City Hall is. And I said, son, how long have you lived here? He's about 20, 21. He said, all my life. He doesn't even know where City Hall is. That's the first step. We've got to know where the building is so that we can get in the door. So that saddened me. So, that's one of my things, if elected, that, we got to know how to get to the first step and then get in the door and then sit in the meetings and then be active in the meetings. We cannot by any means be comfortable because that's when things get over our heads and that's when things get passed. We have to stay involved at some level. And so, that's kind of going to be my message is that get up, get involved, vote now, and then stay involved as the year continues.
I love that. I love that. Do not get too comfortable. I remember when President Obama was elected, my dad would stand in the pulpit and say, oh, y'all think we've arrived. And we have not. I mean, he would talk about it almost every Sunday, and I'd be like, okay. But I didn't understand it until now. We got so comfortable, and we just kind of backed away. And I believe that God, unfortunately, allowed some events to happen for us to be like, oh, we need to wake up and we need to get back, put our boots on the ground and get back to what our forefathers have done in the past, because we have not arrived. We have so much more work to do. Miss Commissioner James, your appeal to the Black voter, how important is it for them to vote?
I'm going to read you a message that I received tonight. It says, there will be no more Negroes involved in political stuff because you people have blown it. We had faith in you. We do not have faith in you anymore. You will not be trusted with any kind of public office ever. Coming home from about 15 hours of campaigning a day, and this is the message, one of the messages that I get. And I don't want to take away from all of the positive feedback and love that I get, but those types of messages, they're tiring. Just for someone to think that they can say those types of things to individuals, and for us as the Black community not to realize the type of power that we have. Something that my pastor always says is, we decide who decides. And we have to understand there is a trickle down effect. And no one, like you all say, no one gets to jail by coincidence. There's a jury, there are judges, there are prosecutors, there are defenders, there are officers, there are detectives, there are city managers, there are commissioners. There are so many people who make the decision of a final decision that we see, but we don't see all of the layers that happen underneath it. And we don't understand how much of an impact that has, all the way down to the sheriff's office, who appoints the sheriff, your governor, who supports your governors. And so to make sure that We are dragging people to these polls and educating them how it works. We're educating them how government works. And in my case, Daniela, people don't come to City Hall because people weren't allowed over that part of the tracks growing up. And so sometimes we have to meet them where they are. And I am having to help people unlearn all of the things that they've had to go through. And it's a lot of trauma associated with why people don't vote, why people don't go to City Hall, why people don't trust in the government, why people don't trust in commissioners. And it's our jobs as elected leaders or leaders in the community, regardless if you're elected or not, to inform. Are your family members and are your communities going to the homeowners association meetings? Are they voicing their opinions at planning and zoning meetings? Decisions, buildings just don't come up. There are public hearings that you are able to voice your opinions at. There are boards that you can sit on and give your feedback into what is happening. And it's so discouraging sometimes when I go out and I make it my business to go knock on the doors where developments are coming. I go knock on those doors in those communities and let them know. Because you're right, people have jobs, careers, families, and they don't have the time, nor do they have the trust and the faith of how the system really works. But when they see somebody that is dedicated to helping this community and explaining to them the long-term effects of a high-rise, luxury apartment building that will gentrify the area, although it will add to your tax base, it's going to kick out these elders whose property taxes are going to go up and they can't pay their taxes. It's slowly our decisions today. We have to start making decisions for 3 generations down the line, not just 2 years. And so I always say, vote not for the next election, but vote for, the right thing. And it is so vitally important that we put people that we can hold accountable in those places. And when they prove that they are not able to be accountable, you let them understand your power, that you're going to vote them out. When they understand that you have the power to vote them out, and they will listen. You will have their ear. They will make decisions based on your needs and not their pockets. They will understand that, I have to listen to what our residents are saying and really take an ear on how the developments are going to shape these communities, or else I am going to be out of a job. When we understand we have the power to take their jobs away, their positions away, we will grab somebody else by the hand and educate them. And they have to grab somebody else by the hand and educate them, because there is hundreds of years. It's not just 5 years that we have to undo. We have to undo so much, but it starts with strong leaders who have alligator skin, who are unfazed, who understand that we have to stand in the gap sometimes of our elders. We have to stand in the gap sometimes of our men. And those are just things that we're going to have to do until we are all on the same page, because right now we're not on the same page. And until we are on the same page, we won't see the type of change that we want to see.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Nakasha, my question for you is a little bit different, and I want you to make an appeal to Generation Z. Those who, due to recent events, they've lost faith. Here in the city that I live in, Castleberry, I've literally seen young people um, try their hardest to go out and protest, and they're just losing their faith because I'm in the middle of Florida, and it looks a lot different up here. And those guys in their big pickup trucks with their big flags are so rude and nasty to them. I've seen it where I've had to like, hey, stop, don't do that. What do you say to that generation? They're fired up, they're ready, but after Brianna's not getting justice for that, and after seeing these things happen, what can you say to them to say, I hear you, but I still need you to vote?
I mean, you basically summed it up. This generation is, they are very apathetic. They are very, very, very disenfranchised by, our government and our political system. They don't feel a connection to the process. But what I would tell any young person, particularly a part of Gen Z, is you have to understand that you have to turn that anger into action. That's what I tell every young person. You have to be able to take the anger that you felt when you watched a video of Ahmaud Arbery being slaughtered, literally slaughtered in the broad daylight in the middle of a suburban neighborhood in Georgia like an animal. You have to be able to understand that the prosecutor in that case, who waited almost 2 months before they even charged those two individuals in his murder, those people were on a ballot. And I cannot underscore that to young people enough. There is power in your vote, but we cannot hear your voice if you do not vote. That is the bottom line. They have to be engaged and involved in the process. Breonna Taylor's case. I mean, every single one of these cases, Philando Castile, here locally, every single one of these cases hinges on the people that are elected in office in those particular locales. Michael Brown in Missouri, there were no charges in that case, with the police officer that killed him. Every single one. But now I see that they have their first Black female mayor, because guess what? The people there turned their anger into action. And that's what young people have to do. They have to understand that we respect them. We know they're the future of this country. I mean, we're not going to be here forever. We're not going to be running it forever. So they are the future. They just have to understand that the future is now. They don't have to wait until they're 40 and 50 and 60 years old to get engaged in the process. And I know that we still have to push young people out, but I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing on the ground right now. I'm seeing young people who are fired up, who are ready to go, who understand their power, and they're getting engaged in the process. I mean, just the numbers alone, there are over 270,000 young people between the ages of 18 and 29 who have already voted here in Florida. Already, almost 300,000 young people have gone to the polls. I was at the polls yesterday. I saw young people out there trying to get their ballots straightened out. They were, trying to be given provisional ballots. We were out there helping them. There are young people who are engaged. They're fired up. They're ready to go. So I'm encouraged. I want them to understand that it's not just Donald Trump and Joe Biden on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot. Social justice, criminal justice reform is on the ballot. So if you don't understand the connection between all of these young Black people who are losing their lives in the street by people who are paid by our tax dollars, you have to understand that there is a connection there and that there is power in their vote. And I implore each and every young person to get out there and vote.
I love that. Yes, yes, yes. That's why I had to have all of you on here tonight, because each and every one of you all are amazing. And yes, turn your anger into action. I also want to make my little appeal to the mothers of children who are old enough to vote. I am so appreciative of Cynthia Diane Curry. When it was our time and my sister and I was old enough to vote, she would say, okay, this is who you vote for. When you go, this is what you do. This is what you say. This is the person that we're doing. She would literally text us, call us, tell us, you want to vote yes on this amendment, and this is why. Do you all have any questions? And I appreciate that, because at 18, all I wanted to do was go to Tallahassee, go to the moon. Amen. And I was not thinking about that. And so mothers, fathers, do what you need to do to educate your children. It starts at home. It truly does. Yes, we're going to do education outside of home. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I love that. But it starts at home. And so I encourage mothers. You have that young man, that son on your couch playing video games and eating up all your food. Make sure he goes to vote, and tell him what he needs to do and who to vote for, because it will affect him. My mom said, and sleep. Be quiet, Mom. All right. So she's so funny. Last before we go, I want each and every one of you all, especially to Daniela, Roxanne and Commissioner Tamara to make your appeal tonight. How can we reach you? Can we donate? Where can we find you? All of that information. I'll start with you, Miss Roxanne.
So I am mainly on Facebook. You'll see it. I am with Roxanne Reed Goodman for Zone 2 Commissioner. And so that's the best way to kind of reach out to me. Yes, you can donate. Please do if you want to. I do take donations. And I think the message here is no matter who you're voting out for, vote with your passion, vote with your heart, vote for the future, but vote. So most
Thank
importantly,
you. Thank you
you.
so much. Daniela.
All right. Thank you again for this invitation. You guys can go to my website, votedaniela4nmb.com, votedaniela4nmb.com. And that's the same handle for Instagram and Facebook, Vote Daniela for NMB. Let's go out and vote, people. Let's do it.
All right. North Miami Beach, y'all better come out and vote. She is one of your own. She is one of the sweetest women I have met. We worked together some years ago. She loves people. She serves people and she's very humble. So let's make sure that we support her at Vote Daniela NMB.com. Let's do that now. Commissioner Tamara.
Yes. To find more out about me, you can go to tamarajames.us. That is TAMARAJAMES.us. There you will also find a link to be able to donate to my campaign if you would like. But more importantly, you can find me on social media, Honorable Tamara James, for Facebook and Instagram, Tamara_James. I am I'm a social media junkie, and I love to engage with almost anyone. And I just would love your support, even if you cannot donate a share, a like, or a comment to boost those posts, to get those algorithms back into play. It definitely increases our visibility as elected officials to be able to allow the reach to be broader. And I thank you so much, Victoria, for the invitation. And this has been an amazing panel with some amazing young ladies. And I'm excited to see us at conferences and be able to break bread and share what works and, sip a little tea and have some laughs.
Absolutely. And Nakasha, my question for you is, what are our next steps as you are working for the Biden campaign? What are our next steps? What do we need to do next to make sure that this turns in our favor?
Well, one, I just have to say thank you for curating this space for such amazing Black women. Being able to look at this computer screen and see these faces and hear the power in their voices just lets me know I'm not out here on the battlefield by myself. So thank you to my sisters here tonight. I just wanted to tell everyone, watching this or watching the replay, with 7 days left, make a plan to vote. Bottom line, don't just be wondering about how you're going to vote. You no longer can request an absentee ballot. So now the only options that you have to be able to vote, if you don't already have an absentee ballot sitting on your dining room table, is that you actually have to go out to the polls to vote early, or you have to go on election day. And we're asking all of our voters to vote early. Never leave the election to election day. You don't know what can happen. You see in South Florida, we've had some of the worst weather that we possibly could have had in the last week. So we definitely don't want folks to wait. Your baby could get sick at school, God forbid, and you got to pick them up. And, so there's so many variables that can happen on that one day. So the mere fact that we have so many days to vote before election day, it's important that we take that opportunity and vote early. I cannot emphasize that enough. But I definitely want to implore my people, to the Black community. We are such a strong and resilient people. And we are, in my opinion, and this is well founded, we are the foundation and the fabric of this country. We built this country. And I think that we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our ancestors to get out there and vote. Point blank and period. There's no question about it. Obviously, I would love for you to support my candidate, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but the vote process is what I'm more concerned about. Because see, what a lot of Black people don't understand is we didn't even get the right to vote until 1965.
Right.
Okay. You know, I support the women's suffrage movement from 1920, but it wasn't for another 45 years before people who look like me could actually exercise that right. And then even in 1965, it was probably another 20 to 30 years that we had to fight for that right. You know, there were poll taxes and there were quizzes and questions and tests that our people had to, you know, be able to pass in order to be able to exercise this right. So it's really only been for like the last like 25 years that Black people have had the unmitigated right to vote. And to me, when I see Black people having to stand in line for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours in order to exercise their right to vote, that's voter suppression to me, just like a poll tax. You know, it energizes us when we see so many people standing in line, but that's voter suppression. Because guess what? If I don't have 11 hours off of my job to be able to vote, I'm probably going to leave. And that means that my right to vote has been infringed upon. So I just implore you, make a plan, know where you're going to vote, know when you're going to vote, and most importantly, know who you're going to vote for, because as Black people in this country, our votes matter. So thank you so much, Ms. Hicks, for this amazing space, and God bless each and every one of you in your journeys to elected office.
Wow, wow, wow. You all are absolutely amazing. Nakasha, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm led before we leave tonight to pray over each and every one of you ladies. So if you don't mind, we're going to go before the throne of grace. Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for this time. We thank you for this day. We thank you for being the God who is the creator of all the universe. We thank you, Lord God. I come before you, lifting up these women before you. These women who want to serve your people. I call them by name: Daniela Jean, Roxanne Goodman, Nakasha Wells, and Commissioner Tamara James. I thank you for their lives. I thank you for their sacrifice. I thank you for their service. I thank you for their heart to serve. I thank you, Lord God, for all of those that are supporting them. I ask that you dispatch your angels, your ministering and warring angels all around them. I ask that you would cover them from the crown of their head to the sole of their feet. I pray for every dollar that comes into their campaign. I pray for every moment that they speak to someone, that they will have your light upon them. I plead the blood of Jesus over them, the protection. I decree and declare Psalms 91 over them. I pray that you would keep them in their comings and their goings. Let not one evil word penetrate their heart in the mighty name of Jesus. Let not one person who will try to tear down their character penetrate their heart. Lord, give them strength in their body. Give them strength in their mind. Give them the words to say. And as they continue in the next 7 days on this campaign trail, we pray that they will be covered. We pray for all of their constituents that will vote for them. We pray for their families, that nothing will be lacking, nothing will be missing, that everything and all of their virtue will be restored back unto them. We thank you and honor you because you are sovereign and you know the beginning from the end. And so we put our trust in you, Lord God, whatever the outcome may be. We know that you are sovereign. And we thank you now for this election. We pray that it be done decently and in order. But we know that you sit on the throne and you are, in fact, ruler and you reign high. But we ask, Lord God, that everything be done during this election season decently and in order, for the word of God says it to be so. And so I thank you for tonight, this conversation. I thank you for these women. I pray that they will have restful sleep, whatever's on their heart, whatever's troubling them. I ask that you would eradicate it, for your word says that we are to place our troubles and our cares on you, Lord God. And so I ask that you would take the burden off of their shoulders and let them trust in the Father who created them. And so I thank you for all those that listen tonight. for those that may be troubled, even in their home, as just an audience member. I pray that you would cover them as well. Bless them real good in Jesus' mighty name. And it is so, and so it is. Amen. Amen. I was led to do
Amen.
that because I know that in any capacity where you serve others, it can get very heavy and it can be very tiresome. And just know that somebody is praying for you, somebody is covering you. There are people, there are intercessors that are on the watch, that are interceding for those that are in politics. And just know that I am proud of you all. I am extremely proud. Some of you all I'm meeting for the first time tonight, but any Black woman doing something for their community makes me proud. I'm proud to be a Black woman because I know there are women out there like you all who have their boots on the ground. While I'm in the classroom educating our young people, you all are out there making sure that their parents are doing the right thing. And so I'm proud of you. Just know that somebody is proud of you. We're rooting for you. And I know that you all will be successful in whatever outcome this may be because your voice is needed. And I'm so excited that you chose to join me tonight. I hope you got something out of it. To all of those that listen to us, to all of you all that will watch the replay, because a lot of people tend to share a lot after we end the broadcast. I thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. To the panelists, you all are absolutely amazing. And I'm so thankful that you spent this Monday with me. For all of our Where Do I Fit In followers, we will be back in November. We will be back. Our next panel will be about purity and the Black woman experience of being a Christian in dating and trying to uphold standards in the church. That will be a very interesting conversation. And after that, we're going to have a conversation on sisterhood. Why is it so hard for Black women to be friends? So we're going to talk about it because I think it's so important. We need to bring unity among Black women again. And I'm an advocate for that. And so, yes, we'll be back in November with those two topics. And we're going to get into some other topics at the end of this year. And I'm so excited to be doing this and having this conversation. So good night, everyone. I love you all. Share, share, share. Let people know they need to come on. Any last words, ladies?
Vote.
Yes,
Vote.
Vote. Please
Vote.
vote.
please vote. Vote,
Yes.
whatever you do. Vote,
Thank
period.
you.
Whatever way you want to say it, vote. It's a must.
Yes.
Panelists, please stay on. I'm going to end the broadcast, but you all stay put, okay? All right. Good night, everyone. We'll see you in November. Make sure you share this broadcast and make sure you vote. Good night.